confirm if you can see my screen. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So I'll be sharing from there now. So this is the topic we'll be looking at this evening, and I'm being told I have about 40 minutes. So we'll try to be fast while also not missing out on the essential things. So quickly, we've already been told the topic. We'll move into the um, agenda proper. So these are the things we'll be looking at today. Remember, our topic is divided into threefold sort of. We're talking about AI, we're talking about automation, and then we're talking about where do human analysts feature in this paradigm shifts, in this trend that we are talking about. Where do they feature? So those are the things that we'll be considering this evening. Okay. Yeah. So thank you once again, After School Academy, for this opportunity. I'm very grateful and delighted, and I trust God to do my best as we impact knowledge and also grow together. And let me also put a kind of quick disclaimer. Please, I am not yet an expert. Yes, I wouldn't count myself as one. One of my favorite catchphrases is that learning never ends. So I'm someone that I continue learning every day, continue evolving. So if you see me on the road tomorrow, and let's greet like persons that have met each other, like have interacted, and the rest of that. Okay. So quickly now we would this is the agenda we'll be looking at, and then let's go into the next page. Yeah. So when we talk about AI, we say why is AI and automation important? So I believe most of us, yeah, this is not our first time hearing about AI. So I wouldn't go through defining and explaining what AI is. We are used to it already. So I'll just briefly talk about each point to give us an edge. Everything you see is a summary, which, to the best of my knowledge, is how a PowerPoint should be. So the rest of the details I'll be saying from my own end. Yeah. So why should someone actually even bother to learn AI and automation? In the past 1 year, especially when I was still in school, it was a very common question persons ask. Why should I even bother learning how to prompt? Why should I even bother learning how to use AI tools? What's the gain when I can, I'm not looking at becoming a tech guru or any of those. So, but then most of those questions stem from a place of not understanding the reality we are looking at now. Now, if you look at the way things are, there were times when you go to the market, you want to buy something, you start counting money manually. These days, you can easily do transfer. So that is the change. That's one thing about technical technology shifts. When it wants to happen, it doesn't give you any sign. Neither does it warn you. It just comes and it happens. These days, virtually every shop, even the persons that sell crayfish, I can remember the last time I was in my school, I bought granules with transfer. So you can imagine that's how progressive technology has been. So that's for that. AI is already our present reality. It's not the future. We're already in that era now. So everyone has to level up to that playing field. Back in the days of our parents, when computer was still a new thing, everyone was trying to learn how to type, Mavis Beacon, and the rest of that. But these days, even with your voice, you can just transcribe audio to text, and that will save you time. So those are the things. But then we also look at how these things can make or mar us, and how we can also be effective regardless of which AI tool comes into place. And I also want to say that at the end of this class, I'll be sharing with us two bonus resources. I'll be sharing this slide for everyone that will be attending. I'll drop the link, and then I'll also share a newsletter that I read daily. They share AI tools that can benefit you, tools on a regular basis that you can test and get used to and get familiar with. So those are the things. So the second reason why learning AI and automation is important is because it helps to make our work easier. Now, and if you look at history, everything that was created from time immemorial, everything that was invented for one purpose, and that was to make work easy. When you look at the typewriter, when you look at the computer, when you look at the telephone to make communication easy. So all those things are things that give you a reason for you to keep evolving and to keep learning. So the aim of AI is not to steal your work. The aim of AI is not to make you unemployed. The aim of AI is to make your work easier. Rather than spending time to type some things or do some things manually with AI, you can just automate the workflow. So that is it. And then another reason why it's important for you to learn AI and automation as a data analyst or even anyone in the data field is because you have to adapt to the playing field. Yes, if you do not adapt, you'll be left behind. Gone are the days when we used to do mathematical sum, especially complex sum, with pen and paper. These days, with the understanding of softwares like SPSS, Python, R language, you can easily do these tasks. So we're also going to get down to something very important before you even get to learn these softwares. Okay. So please, if at any point maybe I am inaudible, you can just let me know in the comments. Thank you, so that we won't get mixed out. And then the next one, handle basic tasks. We have productivity apps like Notion, we have Asana, we have Zapier, we have Make, we have N8N, and the rest of that. And another reason is because science is rapidly developing in terms of research. What took 100 years to uncover in the last 2 centuries is taking 2, 3 years in this present age. That is one of the reasons why learning AI is very important. So when we talk about the data, the careers in AI, or the careers in data actually, they are actually grouped into three broad categories. Yeah. So we have careers in data science, we have in data analysis, and we have in data engineering. So before we go further, let me just explain the three of them. Data scientists, they are the ones that try to predict based on a particular data, based on the analysis. The data analysts themselves, they analyze using the numbers, while the data engineers, they develop the systems that perform these operations that the data analysts use. So data scientists predict, analysts analyze, and make informed decisions. Why engineers build the systems and pipelines that help these things get done. And as you can see, these are the different, just few examples of careers that the different aspects. Okay, yeah. So these are the different aspects that we can also see from here. Please confirm if you can see the screen. Confirm if you can still see the screen. Thank you. Okay. So these are the different jobs. And then for data analysis, I added two extra ones there that may not be very common. And one of them is data entry clerks. These ones are in charge of entering the data. Yeah, they enter data and they are paid based on the number of their typing speed and on an hourly basis. And then virtual assistants, like most of us know, these ones are the ones that help to automate tasks. They help to alleviate people of too many workloads. And one of the things that can make you a successful or excellent virtual assistant is knowing how to use tools that automate workflow. I've mentioned them earlier. We'll still see some of the examples as we go further. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So you can still see the screen. Okay. So the next slide, we'll be talking about this. Yeah. So virtually every training that I've been part of, this is a very common question that is being asked, and I will answer it this way. So for AI to take your job, it depends on the context. Yeah, it depends on the context. And what that means is that if you are not well equipped, AI will take over your job. Let's say, for example, you find yourself in a school where persons are to enter data electronically, and you happen to be used to the manual process. You see that in no time the school will have no need for you, even if you happen to be the best teacher. The reason is because they are not going to sacrifice time on the altar of ability. Yes, that is the way the world functions now. apart from the fact that you have to show up, you have to show visibility for you to get patronized, for you to be employable, you also need to show ability. Yes, for you as a data analyst, as one in a data career, you have to also show ability. So if you've not adapted to tools, if you are not comfortable with using some tools, AI will take over your job. One of the things when I was starting out as a data analyst, I usually used to tell myself that I'm not the speed type of guy. I don't like speed until a graphic designer told me how he completed a design in 15 minutes. Yes, a graphic designer completed a full-fledged design in 15 minutes and he got paid 50K. Yeah. So you can imagine if 15 minutes can generate such income, how much more can we do the same in other fields? Do we get? So these are the things that we need to consider and ponder. When you are starting out, it's okay to start out slow. But one of the things that practice gives you is speed. So we'll get to that as well. So AI will take over your job if you've not adapted to the tools. And no, it will not take over your job if you stay ahead of the curve. So how do you stay ahead of the curve? We are going to that have helped me when it comes to you being ahead of the curve, when it comes to you being valuable to the point that in any working system, in any environment, nobody can discard you because you know your worth and your value. And the first one is to test AI tools regularly. Test AI tools regularly. One of the things that you can do to progress quicker in this age and time is to test AI tools regularly. So I'll be in a short while, I would open the chat box and I'll be sending something there. Okay, so when we talk about testing AI tools regularly, and I do some Telegram groups where I'm part of, and they share these AI tools for people to test on a regular basis. And then I also have some email newsletters. One of them is what I'm sending now. I'm sending in the chat box. Yeah. So I've sent it in the chat box. So you can just see it there and it's pinned. Yeah. Okay. So one of the tools, one of the newsletters that I regularly read their emails is the Rundown AI. So every day, these people send emails, and at the end of the emails contain at least 4 AI tools that you can test regularly. And one of the things they always recommend is don't test them daily so that you don't get tired. Outline the ones that align to your field, schedule a day that you will test them, and do that regularly. Let's say Saturday, Sunday, whichever falls into your schedule that is convenient for you. So that is it. And then the second one is for you to stay ahead of the curve. You need to have knowledge of domain fundamental. Now, whichever field you find yourself, let's say you happen to be a data analyst in the field of financial research, there are some key terms, there are some keywords and terminologies that is relative to your field. So those keywords, they are things you should know. No one should teach you them because when it comes to automation, if you want to get the best out of AI tools, you need to feed it the exact keywords that it needs for the best response. We'll still come to that. So having domain knowledge, having knowledge of domain fundamentals in any field you find yourself as a, for example, if I want to prompt AI, there are some terminologies I should know that should feature in my prompt. So those terminologies are the things that would help me stand out. Those are the things that will make AI give me an excellent result. So that's for that. And then another thing is in this age and time, I don't believe we should be preaching this, but it is still important to repeat it. Every data enthusiast should have strong prompting skills. There are free courses all over. Take some time, enroll in these courses, understand the basic prompting concepts. In a prompt, for example, there are 6 aspects of the prompt. We have the context, we have the example, we have the persona, we have the formats, we have the and the rest of that. So there are 6 of them, but these are the ones I can remember now. So the point is, whenever you're writing a prompt, understand how these prompts work and prompt according to your domain field so that you will get the best possible outcome. So that is it. So understanding, when you understand, when you have knowledge in your domain field and you have strong prompting skills, then the next thing you are going to do is you are going to think with AI. Yes. Now, as someone who was once a student, one of the challenges that I discovered in my department was that most persons just use AI to get responses. Most persons use AI to get responses in the sense that they just want to get results. They just want to get outcome. But then the best use of AI is not rushing the process, but rather getting to understand the algorithm. And I don't want to digress from what we are saying, but I'll just give a talk on how our data is being extracted these days. Sometimes when I go to fill forms to enroll in programs or meetings or events, I already discovered that these guys have access to my zip code, they have access to my address, they have access to my email. Does anyone have such experience? Just use an emoji to react so that I can see. So these, when you just click on sign up, you will see all your details. It will just flash before you. Yes. So that is the world we are living in now. Our data is exposed. Our data is accessible from any point. So that is it. So instead of you to rush the process of getting the best out of AI, just take time to think through. Take time to make AI understand what exactly you want. Yesterday, I was working on a prompt for an image I wanted to use for this PowerPoint, and I had to tweak the prompt more than 3 times. You get, so those are the kind of things. So AI will understand that there is something specific you want. So that is how this thing works. Think with AI, process will always beat output. When you see someone that wants output, their prompts are mostly 1, 2, 3 lines. But when you see someone that wants process, you will see that they can write a prompt of 1,000 words. One of the best YouTube channels I follow, he's a data engineer by profession. So one time he shared a prompt of how he generated a data set using Python. And that prompt had at least 100 lines of code. So you can imagine 100 lines of code for a prompt for an imaginary data set. And each data set, each row, each column, he specified what he wanted, the number of rows he wanted, the number of columns, the subheads of each column, the nature of characters. So you can imagine that level of detailing. And at the end, he got his data sets, he transferred it to Tableau, visualized it, and presented it as a case study for his tutorial. So those are the things that you need to give attention to. Think with AI, not just outcome. Okay. And then the next thing is build on soft skills. Yeah. One of the reasons why I believe that regardless of which trend comes in AI, there will always be need for humans is that one, soft skills exist. Now, what are soft skills? Soft skills are those skills that cannot be done or carried out by machines. They are simply built on attributes like empathy, emotions, verbal, verbal, verbatim, and the rest of that. So when we now talk about soft skills, some examples, we have critical thinking, we have effective communication, and many other things. So building those soft skills will help you stay ahead. There are many persons in today's world that know how to create a visualization. In fact, if you're very active on LinkedIn, if you're active on Twitter, is a common thing. Every week, people are showing off dashboards, people are building dashboards. But then most persons actually may not understand what they are looking for in this dashboard. I can remember the first dashboard I built, it took me time to actually say, okay, wow, I want to build a dashboard because I now understand why I'm building a dashboard. It didn't make any sense to me initially because the aspects of my specialization is more on statistical analysis. Yeah. So building a dashboard was like, a Herculean task. So when I got onto the idea, I understood that a dashboard shouldn't show everything, but rather just the main things. So everyone can build this dashboard, but how many persons can communicate to the dashboard? Those are the things you ask yourself. So that is why soft skills are important. So learn to communicate effectively. Meetings like this give you an opportunity to learn these things. You can see the way our host is managing the meeting. So things like that, those are things that could be helpful presentation skills if you find yourself in a situation where you have to make a presentation. And then another thing is you need to develop your unique identity. I know a lot of persons that I follow online. One of the things about them is that they have their own pattern of writing. There are some unique catchphrases that they include whenever they make posts, to the point that if you ask AI, I want to write like Emeka Nobi, someone like Emeka Nobis or Chinaza Favor or Chinwane Precious. I want to write like them. AI will be able to give you something about them because they have written to the point that that pattern of writing is the identity. So develop yours. Yours could be a slang, it could be a pidgin slang, it could be a local language slang, but ensure that the way you write it is going to be authentic. When someone sees it, they'll know that yes, this person is the one that wrote this. You get, so that is it. And then the next point is learn one or two automation tools. Now this may not apply for every field, but I included it because part of the rules I listed was virtual assistants. So virtual assistant, if you happen to find yourself or you are one, then these are some of the tools that you can also use as well. And there are a lot of one of the things that can also help you in this age and time. I didn't list it here, is understanding how search keywords work. Yeah, if you understand how search keywords and Boolean strings work in all social media platforms, you'll be able to dig out the most hidden websites, you'll be able to dig out the most hidden resources, you'll be able to explore the most hidden data, and that is that. So okay, yeah. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So the link I sent now, they use it sometimes, they call it email marketing. Yeah. So that is part of it. And then the last thing here to stay ahead of the curve is to embrace deep work. After I finished reading the book Deep Work by Cal Newport, a new sense of responsibility came because I now understood that although not all professions may require deep work, but the one who wants to stand out, the one who wants to be distinguished, must be willing to commit hours and hours of serious learning. And in a world where distraction can replace authenticity. For example, everybody comes online, and we are parading as though we are making progress, we are being productive, we are making comments here and there. But then in reality, when you check our daily workflow, you see that maybe not too much growth is being made. So these are the things that when you sit down, create time to think, ask yourself, how well am I doing this thing? So in the context of the topic we are discussing this evening, I believe data analysts, data scientists, data engineers, their work requires deep work. You don't analyze data shallowly. The few persons I handled analysis for, one of the things that will happen to be their thought process is that data analysis is so easy, that kind of stuff. But then it goes beyond just punching keys and creating charts. No, for me, as someone who has experience in graphic design and color visualization and color psychology, before I choose any chart type, I have to carefully ensure that this chart type is suitable for that particular visualization or that particular table. So these are the things that data analysts consider. These are the things that form part of our decision making. With AI, for example, AI can just give you two, three columns. I can remember when I was writing my project, I prompted AI to give me a graph, a bar chart for my analysis, and it gave me just that. But then it wasn't flexible. In other words, you cannot alter it. But then when you use Excel to create it, you can alter it at any point as long as you're using Microsoft or PowerPoint. So these are the advantages. So we'll move to the next. And then another thing that you can do to stay ahead of the curve is to use AI tools and large language models to their strengths. Now, the list you are seeing before you is just my own personal perspective. This is how I use these AI tools, the popular one amongst them. So for ChatGPT, I use it to generate content ideas. Yeah. And then for Claude, I use it for vibe coding. I'm not really into programming, but sometimes I implement what other programmers have talked about. Yeah, just for fun. So those are the kind of things. And then I use it for academic learning as well. Helped me a lot while I was writing my project. So most of the examples that I'm giving here is relative to my niche, relative to academic learning, relative to research. So the other ones too that I will list as well that you can also go and explore. Yeah. So if you've not been using Claude or if you've been fading on it, this is your wake up call to start using Claude again. So that's that. And then we also have Google Gemini for those of us who are into analysis. Let me give you a little kind of secret. I just discovered recently that due to the fact that Google Gemini is a Google product, you can easily access information from other Google products seamlessly. Sometimes when I ask Google Gemini for information, they end by recommending a video on YouTube. YouTube is another Google product. So the seamless transaction between the app shows you that they have this understanding. And sometimes you upload a picture, for example, I can upload a picture of a student's raw data and ask Google Gemini to transform it into a table. The moment it transforms it, I export to Google Sheets and download as Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So these are things that if you are very, very conversant with AI, imagine entering this data manually. You get so you can imagine the time it will take and then compared to the time that you saved as a result of having that knowledge. So after now, one of the things you might consider is exploring Google Gemini more. And I think currently it has the best AI picture outputs. A lot of people have been seeing recently have been using AI pictures from Google Gemini. It has the best currently. And then when we talk about Grok, I'm not very keen on Grok unless you are someone that uses Twitter. So, but then when it comes to finding facts, fact finding on a small scale, it is reliable. I kind of see Grok as a gossip most of the time, poking nose in what's not its business. But that's actually how the LLM is designed. So I don't really blame it. Yeah, Nano Banana, thank you. Very, very important. Nano Banana as well. It's still part of the Google Gemini we talked about. And for those of us that, are very, very wealthy financially, you can check out Google VO3. Yeah, Google VO3 is another important, Google VO3 is another one that you can also explore as well. So that's that. And then another one that I didn't list here is Perplexity AI. Perplexity AI is also used for research. DeepSeek is also used for fact finding and academic research on a large scale. So there are many other chatbots, AI tools that you can use. Some of them are used like, for example, in this meeting, I think I saw a note taker. We also have Phantom for note taking. We also have we also have I think that's Fireflies. Yeah, Fireflies for note taking as well. So all these AI tools, we have vid.ai for videos. We also have gamma.app for PowerPoint presentation. Some of them are free, some of them are not. So explore these ones and check out the ones that would serve you better. So that's it. And then the next slide. So how do I get started? Let's say, for example, because one of the things that I've realized in today's world is that most times, if you are joining on a train, you discover that most of the information that is being talked about is only peculiar to the experts or persons that are at the intermediate level. But then you that is just starting out, you get confused. So you'll be asking, how do I get started? So this particular slide is for you. Now, if you are getting started in anything, I always recommend you start now as we are even talking and start small. Why do I say start small? I'll use myself as an example. When I started out in data analysis, I jumped into Python. Yeah. Some persons here may actually remember. So I made a post on how I was going to start learning Python. And By my calculation, I didn't think I counted the costs of what I wanted to learn. So by my calculation, I was like, December, I'll learn Python. By March, I should be job ready. Well, the problem is that no one was guiding me. I was going alone. I was exploring, and that's how most part of my life has been. So I started from the biggest and started without anybody guiding. So at the end, I came down. I went back to Excel. I went back to SPSS. I'm currently learning SQL, and I've not even talked about Python. You get, so start now and start small. And the second thing is join active communities. Yes, one of the things that communities help you do is that as you are learning in any journey you find yourself, you surely get tired and worn out, especially when you see persons sharing their success story. You will get tired and worn out. So join active communities. They will help you to keep your head in the game. When you see that someone is actually sharing tips, people are, these days people understand the way the system works now. Anyone that is hodling or holding information to a very large extent is actually missing out on the main thing. You share value, people trust you. With that trust, you get patronage. That is how the sales dashboard works now. So join active communities, they help you keep your head in the game. And the next thing is go guided and guarded. What do I mean? Have a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, you can at least follow persons that talk about these things that you can trust. You've seen results. But most importantly, it's good to always have someone you can relate to one-on-one. That will help you. And then the next one is focus on your personal growth. In the course of this journey, you easily get distracted. There are times when you would be concerned about making money and all that stuff. Focus on your personal growth. There are distractions you realize that are actually distractions. And then there are some distractions that you give room to. And the next one is listen to few, act on most of it. One of the things I suffered from when I started was I was listening to everybody. I was watching tutorials from Google. I was watching tutorials from YouTube. I was watching from Data Camp. I was watching from different channels. And each of them have a different approach, a different curriculum. So what do? Listen to few, identify one to start with and finish that one before moving on to the next. You can even use AI, ask AI for a recommended list of YouTube channels to follow in order of difficulty. You understand? I'm just giving you a prompt idea. And then limit trial by error with job applications. One of the mistakes most persons do, I know they always advise us, don't disqualify yourself, apply for the job even if you don't meet the requirements. Now, the thing with job application, like cryptocurrency or forex trading, is that emotions go with it. Yeah, you apply for a job, you don't even deserve it, but then your chest is pounding and you are thinking of receiving an email that's yeah, you're thinking of receiving an email. You're thinking of receiving an email that shows what you applied for, but then you are not qualified. So it's actually funny. So limit that trial by error. Try to understand the basics first. So my brother actually started from Python. I I didn't know what was waiting for me. So you can't actually jump. You have to start from the ladder. So that's it exactly. So that's for that. And then the next thing there. So our next slide, conclusion, have a positive mindset. Now, when I started out, actually, there's this mindset that I just want to learn a skill to have money. No, you get, change that mindset. When you have a mindset that you're learning a skill to escape poverty, there's this tendency to monetize everything. For example, if you have, let's say, an audience of 1K contacts, someone meets you and says, just help me, and the normal mass WhatsApp status sharing, just help me and post on your status, and you're like, 100 views, 1K, you start monetizing everything because you have this feeling that you want to escape poverty. So that's a very, very wrong approach. Yeah, limit trial by error, build the basics, very important. So these are, most of these things are collective experiences from what I've faced. And then the next one, personal journey, collective learning. What does that mean? It means although you are going on your own journey, but then you're also learning from different sources. I remember I said these sources should also be limited as much as possible. There should be few so that you don't get mad trying to learn from many tutors. Now, actually, one of the things I love my roadmap in life, especially with regards to data analysis, is that having explored a lot of these persons, when persons meet me and say, I want you to guide me on how to become a data analyst, I can easily tell them these are the tutorials you need to avoid now. If you want to understand these concepts, this is the channel you follow. If you want to understand concepts like visualization, follow Marvin Analytics. If you want to understand Excel from beginner level, Chando is there. Alex the analyst is there. If you want to understand SQL, data with Bara is there. Mosh, programming with Mosh, and the rest of that. And most times, I even, because I have, curiously explored other fields, I can even recommend videos for persons interested in web development. So there's free code camp, there's data camp, there are so many of them. So that is it. And then the last one, I would end by saying, never get tired of learning. Learning never ends. It's my favorite quote every day, every time. And learning is not just limited to, data analysis. Sometimes you can learn things subconsciously. Like you can just maybe in the course of having this class, you might just say, okay, I think I'm now confident enough to speak before people. So how do I host a video on Google Meet? You type it on YouTube. Before you know it, you've learned that already. You ask, what are some softwares that I can use for video recording? You explore YouTube, you watch these tutorials, follow them, stuff like that. So don't wait until you have every resource before learning. Some person will tell you, I'll wait until I have a MacBook before I start learning how to do video recording. No, learning starts now, learning continues, and learning never ends. So at this point, this is where I'll say, if you have any question, you can ask in the chats. And thank you very much for this privilege. Thank you for having me to talk to you guys. I recognize and appreciate each and every one of you for listening as well. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful section. We already have one question, and someone whose hand is raised. Janet, you raised
Okay.
your hand. Do you want to ask any question before we call it a wrap
No,
tonight?
ma'am, it was a mistake.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Does anyone still have any question? Okay. Sir, can you hear me? We have a question in the chat. We
Yeah,
have two
yeah, yeah.
questions. Yes. The first one,
Okay.
Elisha is asking, is my question is that how can becoming data analysis align with their skills with the evolving demands of AI driven industry? I hope you understand the question.
Yeah, yeah. I do understand the question. Okay. Firstly, okay. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for your question. Okay, just give me I'm coming, please. Okay, okay. So I wanted to share something. Okay, it has gone through. So okay, your question is how can upcoming data analysts align their skills with the evolving demand of AI industries? Okay, so to answer that, here is the thing actually. The concern with most persons when they are learning is, the fear that what I'm learning today might no longer be useful tomorrow. But here's what I will tell you: double down on those fundamentals. As someone who studied civil engineering, before you get to using softwares, master the manual design. You get so double down on learning the fundamentals. When you learn the fundamentals, you develop a strong grip on them. You get to the point where you now use your prompting skills to prompt AI tools to automate your tasks. For example, someone like me now, most times when I see a data, depending on how large the data is, that will determine how I am going to approach it when I'm entering the data. Excel has this provision where you can, as you are typing each character or each cell, if it's repetitive, it will just automate and show you. You get so When you are these AI driven industries, as you want to apply, look at what they require. If they say you need to be proficient in AI tools like Make N8N, while you are learning and mastering the fundamentals, give room to learning them. You get. And I want to assure you one thing: you would never have a full grip on all the AI tools that are currently in use today. For example, if a particular company wants to employ a visualization expert, most times they will say they want someone who is good in Power BI. But the truth actually is that whether or not you are good in Tableau, or you are good with Looker, or you are good with Gecko, as long as you can visualize data, that's all they want. And they wouldn't want you to use a platform where they will be looking, where they will have to pay. You understand? So maybe that's why all those things are like that. So what the point of the matter is, hold a firm grip on the fundamentals, identify the tools that AI industries use more often. One of the best ways you can identify this is when you have communities you belong in on Twitter and LinkedIn. They make mention of it from time to time. Most persons are generous enough to share their experiences. So identify those tools and learn at least one or two of them. Very important. Okay. So the second question here is, can one learn without having passion for it? Okay, so here's the thing actually. When I was learning graphic design, one of my tutors shared something. He said the reason he started learning design actually was because he needed money. And that's true. You get. Now, I believe also that somehow you can, even if what is driving you to learn data analysis is to make money, the difference between data analysis and graphic design is that graphic design can easily be visually appealing. You don't have to do so much per se. Not like if you are starting out actually. But then the problem with data analysis is that already, as you are starting out, the requirements are so much. For example, you can't learn data analysis without a laptop. You can learn graphic design with a phone, even a phone of 1 gig RAM. I know a friend who started with that. But you can't learn data analysis, Excel alone without a laptop. You need a laptop. So that requirement alone makes you realize that it's serious business. You get. So it will be difficult to actually learn a skill without having passion for it. Passion that I mean is you identify the problems you want to solve. For example, in the area where I specialize in academic research, I help students analyze their data. One of the things I discovered is that, especially during my defense, most students actually do not even know how to defend their results. You get. So it's a very big problem. What did I do? I identified that as a knowledge gap and I decided to fix it. So one of the services I render to people is that after analyzing their results, I help them interpret their result, and I also call them. Like, we have a call. I explain to them, this is what your result means. And I also try to pinpoint questions backward in reverse. And I'm like, ask me this question. These are the kind of questions your supervisor will ask you on the day of defense. So when you have knowledge of these things, it makes you more confident. And before I accept any work, I always ask them, what exactly do you want? If they don't know, I refer them back to their supervisor to make things easier for yourself. So passion is very, very important. If you don't have passion for it, it's easy for you to, lose hope. It's easy for you to lose focus. If you don't have passion, you don't have a community you are part of. When things get weary, and of course, things will definitely get weary. There was a time I didn't want to continue anymore. So when things get weary, these are the things that will move you. When you remember your goal, if your goal is to solve problems, you will continue. If your goal is to make money from it, then you are 50-50. Thank you. Okay, and Jeanette asked, trying to master digital marketing, is data analysis or data science needed or necessary? Search market analysis, learn that. It's very important. Yes, data analysis is at the root and foundation of every skill you can think of. If you want to, for example, one of the things that helped me identify this knowledge gap is that I've looked at every other person that is doing data analysis. I've looked at the way they advertise. For example, after now, you can even try it. Go to LinkedIn, type SPSS and need help in quotation marks. Type SPSS and need help in quotation marks. You will discover that most of these are posts that, hint on advertisement alone. They don't tell you the problem they can solve. They are just, advertising. And while it may be good for 5 years ago, in today's world, you need to be more open. Show people the problems that you can solve. You get, those are the things that buy people over these days. They don't buy products, they buy emotions. So if you can learn data analysis, it's very important. And data science, like I said earlier, yes, thank you, bro, Emmanuel. Learn data analysis first. Data science, like I said earlier, is for predicting. So learn data analysis before you learn data science, before you move to data engineering. I think that's the sequence I would recommend. Thank you. So that is it. Okay. Any other question?
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this insightful section. We are really grateful. Can we appreciate our speaker with your favorite emoji? Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for staying to this time. Thank you, Jeanette. I can see you're still here. Thank you, Elisha. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Favor. Thank you, everyone. And our lead educator is here too, Mr. Yola. Thank you, everyone, for joining and staying up to this moment. I don't think we have a first timer with us. So every one of us is in the community. If you have further questions, you can send to the community and it will be answered. You can also reach out to me because some persons are shy. You can also reach out to me with a question. You can also reach out to me with your question and we'll provide answers to it. I really appreciate everyone for joining tonight and staying up to this moment. Thank you. Do have a wonderful night rest, everyone. Good night.